20 minutes of the most embarrassing WWE botches ever. Number 1. Brock splits his pants. Brock Lesnar doesn't have many embarrassing moments in his portfolio as he's built as a serious and unstoppable beast, so for him to split his pants and break character kinda humanizes him a bit. On a recent edition of SmackDown, Brock Lesnar F5'd R-Truth so hard that his pants split. This actually forced Brock Lesnar to break character and laugh about the situation. Brock would even go so far as to show his split pants to the crowd. But this wasn't the first time that Brock has suffered a wardrobe malfunction in front of a live crowd. In his match against Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam 2023, fans got a little distracted when Brock performed his biggest moves as his shorts started to rip. As the moves got bigger and bigger as the match went on, the rip became larger and larger, leading to quite the sight. Number 2. Mandy Rose slips. Don't you guys remember Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke competed at WrestleMania 37? Well, of course you do, as the most memorable moment of the match saw Mandy's legs decide to break character by slipping on the long entrance ramp. Fans recall that WrestleMania 37 had some really bad weather, and it was obvious that the ramp was still a little slippy from the rain. But what was even more funny is that Dana Brooke didn't even notice that her partner was down and out for the count. But luckily for Miss Rose, she played it off cool and continued her glamorous walk down the WrestleMania 37 runway. Number 3. Charlotte Flair slip. Charlotte Flair is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, but even the best have their embarrassing moments caught on WWE television, and that's exactly what happened during Charlotte's match against Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 38. Just as Charlotte Flair was transitioning into the figure 8, her attire started to malfunction, and WWE instantly freaked out. WWE were forced to cut the feed immediately and change camera angles. When the slip was fixed, the frame was then kept on Rousey until she counted out of the figure 8. Flair had to definitely rethink that attire later on. Number 4. Titus World Slide. It was certainly the greatest moment at the greatest Royal Rumble, and WWE knew this too, which is why they released numerous angles on the epic blunder. Vince loved the botch so much that it was reported that he was laughing hysterically backstage and ordered the production team to keep showing replays of the slip. WWE also even created merch for the botch. Luckily, surprising that WWE didn't recreate this moment at the actual Royal Rumble, but then again, we may have given them an idea for 2026. Number 5. The worst botch dive. Sometimes wrestlers have a bad day at the office. In the case of AJ Francis, that bad day single-handedly ruined his WWE career. Francis, aka Top Dollar, was in a triple threat tag team match with Legado del Fantasma and the Viking Raiders, and it was going well up until the dive. Top Dollar hyped the crowd up and he crashed and burned in tremendous fashion. Top Dollar did explain that his legs gave out here and that he's actually stated that the botch saved his life as he found out that he had type 2 diabetes and his blood sugar was heavily low. Now, to Top Dollar's credit, he has done that same dive countless times before and been successful with it. However, that didn't stop the constant memes and the non-stop jabs from Michael Cole and utter burial of Hit Row after the embarrassing botch. Now, on the bright side, Top Dollar has moved past that botch with a ladder spot at TNA Slammiversary that was just as bad. That spot seemed to confirm that Francis had huge balls, because no normal man would have walked away from that ladder botch unscathed. Number 6. Nikki Bella hits John Cena. And Nikki Bella's match against Becky Lynch was certainly a match that people will remember for all the wrong reasons. The strangest part was that Nikki was trying to kick her ex-fiancé. That moment came when Nikki attempted a springboard kick onto Becky Lynch, but she mistimed the move and caught nothing but air. Well, it was actually John Cena. She did sell the mistiming, but improvised quickly by attacking the IC champion. While we're sure that Becky doesn't appreciate John randomly interfering in a match, she's definitely grateful that he took the impact to that devastating maneuver. Number 7. The worst stunner ever. Vince McMahon vs Stone Cold Steve Austin is considered one of the best rivalries ever in professional wrestling, but no one has ever denied the fact that Vince McMahon was absolutely terrible at taking the Stone Cold Stunner. Whilst there's been various moments where he's taken the stunner horrendously in the past, none of them came close to when he hit it at WrestleMania 38. The spot definitely showed Vince's age, but the sell was consistent on how Vince usually took the stunner in the past, so at least they were consistent. Number 8. Brie Bella crashes and burns. Brie Bella's return in 2018 was simply not good. Every week there was a botch with the former WWE Divas champion, but the failed dive to the outside was the absolute worst. A dive to the outside isn't an easy move. You can either overshoot it or, in Brie's case, barely put any effort into attempting the move. Brie didn't undershoot the dive once. She did it multiple times and it was hard for anyone to cover for it. To be fair, Brie has talked about her 2018 comeback and stated that WWE kept pushing her to return at a time when she wasn't even ready. On the Nikki and Brie show, she mentioned, "I guess a huge regret was the way I felt like I needed to come back when I was 7 months postpartum? Maybe at that time, maybe 10. And I think as we were filming both reality shows, they were really pushing me to be like, get back in the ring, let's do like a Brie comeback. But I did not feel ready, and I just kinda let everyone plan everything for me. Now under this context, it makes more sense why Brie was a whole botch machine during our entire return, but unfortunately this did more harm to her legacy because of how bad she was during this time. Number 9, Batista falls over during his WrestleMania entrance. Now, Batista is supposed to be the ultimate badass, but even badasses slip and fall. Before his last match ever in a serious and violent match against Triple H, the Animal had a war with the ring ropes and lost that battle for a good moment. Now the slip-up barely fazed Batista, and he seemed to get a good laugh out of it as well. However, since this was his final entrance for a match, he probably wishes that he didn't make that fall. Number 10, Jinder Mahal sells nothing. Jeff Hardy has done the whisper in the wind off the cage and ladders, but that turnbuckle seems to give him the hardest time. However, in this case, Hardy connected with the move, but Jinder Mahal wasn't in position, so Jeff clearly missed the move by a country mile, but Jinder still sold it anyway. Now, mistakes like this happen a lot, but Mahal still selling for the whisper in the wind exposed the fakeness of pro wrestling in the worst way possible. He certainly isn't the first guy to sell a move that clearly missed, but it still remains as an embarrassing moment. Number 11, Chris Jericho slips on beer. CM Punk beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 28 to retain the WWE Championship, so naturally that was a cause for celebration. Chris Jericho was even nice enough to bring the party to CM Punk, though I don't think being assaulted and doused with beer is anyone's idea of a good time. But during the attack, an overzealous Jericho slipped on the puddle of beer, but thankfully the magic at WWE cameras managed to edit around the slip. It's just a shame that the first viewing took out the seriousness in an otherwise good angle on paper. Number 12, Baron Corbin's throne breaks. Did you know that King Corbin was actually Happy Corbin in disguise? Well, how else would you explain the cheap wood that completely disintegrated the moment King Corbin stood up? This all happened on the September 30th, 2019 edition of Raw, as Orton and Corbin watched the Universal Championship match between Rusev and Seth Rollins. And when the moment happened, Orton had to keep his composure since they were still live on television, though you know those voices in his head were telling him to laugh his ass off. To be fair, the entire King Corbin gimmick was played for laughs more often than not, so I guess it wasn't too embarrassing for the King. Number 13, AJ Styles' pants rip during his TLC match. AJ Styles was fighting two things at TLC 2016. The first was Dean Ambrose, and the second was the fabric on his signature wrestling attire. Now whilst this wasn't as embarrassing as the entire Claire Lynch saga, it was pretty distracting to see a giant hole in Styles' attire. But this was an AJ Styles match, so luckily the good quality of the match overshadowed an embarrassing malfunction that was forgotten by the end of the match. Number 14, the SmackDown cameraman takes a tumble. Now who says that only wrestlers have to be included on this list? Oh, we gotta put a cameraman in here just for good measures, as on the March 6, 2018 edition of SmackDown, they were doing their traditional profile of the current city that they were in, and the cameraman was asked to go up to the Bard Star statue the heavy snowstorm made for a precarious journey. And as a SmackDown cameraman went up to the statue, he took a big tumble. The announcers instantly broke out into laughter the moment they saw it. So did the audiences. The moment became so viral that WWE decided to capitalize on it by interviewing the cameraman Jim Grogan. Grogan certainly got his 15 minutes of fame, though nothing beats getting a hug from Shelton Benjamin to soothe the soul. Number 15, Jade Cargill slips on the top rope. Jade Cargill is a future of the WWE Women's Division, though moments like Clash at the Castle 2024 have fans wondering if Jade is the right pick for the position. After Jade got a hot tag from her BFF Bianca Belair, the energy was too much for her and it caused her to slip and tackle the air. That certainly was an embarrassing moment, so much so that Jade talked about the slip in an interview, and she knew she had to keep going no matter what. I just had to keep on going. I just lay there. I never ever in my career ever took a fall like that. All these power moves I do, I've never failed. I've never slipped. So for me to have to do that, mid-air, I was like, dang. But I just knew I had to keep going. Jade may have not been the next Will Ospreay, but her positivity and focused mindset will get her far in WWE. Number 16, LA Knight chokes on his own gum. LA Knight can deliver some of the best promos in WWE, but even the best promo guys get choked up every now and then. In Knight's case, he literally got choked up by his own gum mid-promo. Just as the WWE star was about to hit a second gear, Knight is forced to stop abruptly. It's one of the funniest moments on television, but like a true professional, Knight recovers somewhat smoothly, but the bizarre middle of his promo is the main reason why it's turned into such a memorable meme. Number 17, Asuka botches twice in a row. And nobody is ready for Asuka, and sometimes that even means gravity too. It's rare that one of the most decorated wrestlers on the roster delivers a botch, but 2 botches in a row is unheard of. But that's exactly what happened to the Empress of Tomorrow in 2018 during a house show in Tampa, where Asuka was supposed to do a spot that saw her jump off Charlotte Flair and hit Becky Lynch, but Asuka seemed to misjudge the timing and placement as she fell short of doing the dropkick. But that wasn't it for the former WWE Women's Champion, as she tried to perform a kip-up and it just didn't work for her. And to be fair, the purpose of house shows was for wrestlers to work and improve their craft. Asuka isn't the first person to botch on a house show, and she certainly isn't going to be the last. Number 18. Mishin slipped during a wild brawl. Do you guys remember the wild brawl that took place on May 5th, 2025? Well, probably not, but there is one thing that fans remember, as during the chaos and hair pulling, Mishin had a big slip from her attire that clearly wanted no part of that fight. It is a blink and you'll miss it moment, as the chaos pulled everyone's eyes into a different direction, which Mishin is probably grateful for based on how much the eagle-eyed viewers saw during that moment. Number 19. Tiffany Stratton slips during her entrance. Do you guys want to see Tiffany Stratton attempt a spin-a-rooney? Maybe next time the WWE Women's Champion will plan the move out better. The SmackDown star released a fun little video where she slipped during a ring entrance. She managed to recover smoothly and then had a good laugh about it seconds later. Number 20. Drew McIntyre's kilt falls off. Drew McIntyre isn't shy about celebrating his Scottish heritage, but on the September 11th, 2021 house show, he may have been a little embarrassed. The Scottish psychopath was in the ring for his match against Jinder Mahal, but his kilt took a stand in Washington, D.C. by refusing to come off. Luckily for the former WWE Champion, Byron Saxton was in the building, and he's a man who knows how to take off a kilt. Now, the moment was all in good fun as Drew played to the crowd. Number 21. Simultaneous botches. That was on the April 26, 2024 episode of SmackDown that we actually realized sometimes Melo does miss. That miss was during his match against Cody Rhodes, where Hayes was going for a springboard move and Cody had the exact same idea. The problem was that both men only caught air in a glaring botch. Hayes addressed the viral spot and he didn't seem to care what fans thought about it.
I mean, I think it's wild that people thought he was going to catch me with a Cody cutter right there. If you see what it was, we both do a springboard move. He's got the disaster kick. He's got the Cody cutter. I've got a couple different things. I tried to catch him. He tried to catch me, but he wasn't fast enough to catch me. And then I ducked underneath and I came in and I capitalized. I think people romanticized and grandirized what it was. I didn't even really address it truthfully. And I know Cody could care less.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like fans say that they know so much and they're not in there with us. They don't know what we're attempting to do. Just sit back and enjoy the show. It's like, I'm watching and I'm like, oh, he was throwing for a touchdown the whole time. He's just trying to get, he's trying to get a completion. and it's never, it's never what people think it is. So, that was what that was. Hey, that would have been great if he could have caught me in the Cody cut. I just don't think.
Yeah, that would have been a hell of a debut if that was.
About to say, not for me. It would great for Cody.
Cody's never talked about the botch. As previously mentioned, it's professional wrestling, so botches can happen. And this didn't harm Cody's career, though Carmelo has been stuck in the mid-card doing absolutely nothing but losing. Number 21. Matt Hardy's entrance fail. Both Matt Hardy and Justin Gabriel came out for a match for WWE Superstars on April 15, 2010, and Hardy was attempting to do his signature pose of standing on the ropes and holding out 3 fingers to the crowd. Justin thought it was a good idea to pose on the same side as Hardy, but unfortunately, Gabriel forgot about the laws of physics, and as soon as his foot pulled down on the ropes, Matt tumbled right out of the ring. Matt Hardy did laugh off the situation, as it was incredibly funny. Number 23. Seth Rollins slips over the barricade during the Shield entrance. The Shield are a trio of badasses, but even they couldn't escape this embarrassing moment. During their signature entrance from the crowd in January 2014, the faction was getting ready to attack Daniel Bryan, but Seth Rollins immediately took a tumble after he went over the barricade. Rollins did try to play it off, but the moment almost ruined the segment entirely. Well, at least on the bright side, Seth Rollins really perfected his role that night. Yeah, role as in literally. Number 24. The Right Gay Guy. Sometimes you just need the right gay guy at the right time, Well, Hogan isn't the first man to flub his lines, and sometimes wrestlers forget their promos and it usually ends up being a disaster. That's exactly what happened to Hulk Hogan on the March 6, 2003 edition of SmackDown. The WWE Hall of Famer was embroiled in a feud with Vince McMahon and cut a memorable promo, but that promo is infamous for all the wrong reasons. That's because Hogan kept messing up his lines. The big flub was when Hogan stated to Vince that if you thought I was just the right gay, he meant to say guy. Unfortunately, the promo doesn't get any better. However, Vince's reaction to Hogan's is hilarious. It seemed Vince's reaction seemed more out of confusion and curiosity more than anything. Luckily, since SmackDown was taped at the time, they managed to remove the segment. Number 25, Matt Riddle. I forgot what I was saying. These days, Matt Riddle seems to be on a tour on how many bridges he can burn. But before the red hair and countless CM Punk jabs, the stoner gimmick came in handy on an episode of Raw in March of 2021 when Riddle came out on a scooter and talked to Asuka. From the moment the segment started, Riddle looked completely confused, but the former WWE star couldn't hold off the charade for much longer. In the middle of the conversation, Riddle just said,
"I'm sorry, I forgot what I was saying,"
and simply went off with a priceless reaction from Asuka. Now, even though this was a botch, it actually worked well for Riddle's character because he came across as a charming goofball. Riddle did reveal what he was supposed to say during a virtual signing, and it's kinda weird. The bright side here was that Vince McMahon and Randy Orton found this promo hilarious. It's a rare example of a flub that actually made a WWE superstar more popular. Number 26, CM Punk shouldn't be doing this at his age. CM Punk was almost decapitated in front of a live audience. Okay, maybe decapitation is a bit of a stretch, but it made Punk extremely close to being back on the injured list again. The moment happened on AJ Lee's very first Raw in 10 years. After the Power Couple made the match official against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch for Wrestlepalooza, AJ and Punk decided to spend time with the fans during the commercial break. But then this moment happened. As Punk exited the ring over the rope, his head almost got caught up in the bottom rope. Thankfully, AJ didn't watch the execution of her husband, and the two went on to beat Seth and Becky at Wrestlepalooza. Number 27, Melina's entrance fail. Melina is a very underrated wrestler. Though she doesn't get much love from WWE, she was certainly one of the best women's wrestlers on the roster, and she easily had the best entrance in the company. Unfortunately, the company went PG, so Melina stopped wearing short skirts. But that didn't mean that it still wasn't enjoyable to watch her do the splits during her entrance. Except, however, at Survivor Series 2007. Just as all eyes were on the former WWE Women's Champion, she pulled a Santina Marella and fell off the apron as she dropped down for the split. To be fair, Melina has done this entrance 1,000 times throughout her career, so one rare mishap was certainly forgivable. Number 28, Roman Reigns declares himself into the 2015 Rumble. Before he became the tribal chief, Roman was the grey-eyed warrior that everyone but Vince hated. There's several notable bad promos during this era of Reigns. The Sovereign Succotash remains the GOAT, but Roman's inability to hang with Cena in the uncut war of words is another standout. But unsurprisingly, there was another moment. That was during a backstage promo where Roman was declaring himself as the first man to enter the 2015 Rumble. But Roman flubbed the word and gave WWE fans the googly eyes as he gathered his composure. Roman ended up finishing strong, but this was the era where fans were not buying him as WWE's top star. So this promo was another prime example to many on why Roman Reigns wasn't the next big thing at the time. Number 28, Sarah Logan. Have you tasted gay meat? Before the Kentucky native was Valhalla, she was out there hunting and tasting gay meat. Now when you actually try to decipher the promo, Logan was meant to say game, not gay, though her delivery was so bad that everyone was confused by the line. At number 30, Kalisto, good lucha things. The search of the next Rey Mysterio continued with Kalisto, who was actually a really good wrestler with a couple of memorable moments inside the ring. But when it came to his promos, Kalisto wasn't anything particularly special. However, there was one promo that is universally loved by fans worldwide, and that came after Kalisto was drafted in 2016. Kalisto cut a backstage promo and you could hear the nervousness from the very beginning. His first flub was saying Baron Corbin, and it didn't get any better. Towards the end of the promo, Kalisto convinced Vince why promos needed to be scripted by saying, Make a good lucha thing. And the best part, Kalisto just ran off screaming, God damn. But there you have it, folks, the most embarrassing WWE botches ever. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.